What cracks have you seen start to appear first when not done properly?
Yeah, I think that, honestly, the communication, we talked about communication gaps, and that is just one huge area that I know that I can have impact, practical impact. Whenever I get close and can work with a team and diagnose the issues that are happening, it's usually people. We talked about that. The people build the systems. Systems can always be changed and up-leveled and tweaked.
How would you advise executives to evaluate their teams that they are actually spending their time in high-value activities?
Yeah. I really like the idea of a quarterly team check-in. I think that makes sense. It feels really good. It's not overbearing. It's not the monthly meeting. It needs to be intentional. But at that meeting, if there's an intentional check-in, pulse, we're taking the pulse, right, of the team. And every one of us is uniquely purposed. And we all have purpose clarity. And this is the way we swim. And giving exciting updates, right? I think that's the goal, is that everybody coming to the team meeting is excited to report.
Welcome to Inside Delegated Authority. Today's guest is Emily Merola. Emily brings more than 20 years of leadership experience across the global insurance and risk management industry, having held underwriting and executive roles at Gen Re, CNA, Chubb, Ironshore, Liberty Mutual, and most recently as Senior Vice President of Property and Casualty at Assurex Global. She there led practice groups, carrier relationships, and growth strategy across a global network. Today, Emily is the founder and CEO of the Blazer Society. She works with high-capacity women and executive teams to close the gap, who they are and how they lead, focusing on executive presence, alignment, and leadership impact in an AI-accelerated industry. Her work tackles a challenge many operators quietly face: misalignment between intention and perception, speed and strategy, systems and human leadership. In a market where delegated authority models are scaling and technology is reshaping workflows, it brings a powerful perspective on how identity, communication, and executive clarity directly influence performance, culture, and long-term success. Emily, welcome to Inside Delegated Authority.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for having me. That was a lovely bio. The past 25 years of my life building in the insurance business has been fun, honestly. And I have just learned to shape my skill sets with every role that I have taken on, from underwriting to leadership and influencing teams. It has truly been a honor to build a global network of amazing insurance professionals. I honestly believe that performance challenges today in our world in 2026, they're rarely about talent, the talent in this beautiful industry that I've had the privilege to be a part of and learn and grow through. So I think there are more so about the clarity of expectations, and that looks different for every single one of us. But I think that they're about the system design, and there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of horses in the race right now with AI and technology enhancing how we do what we do as humans. So I love the work that I do. And again, thank you for having me on this show.
I really appreciate it, Emily. And something that I've been thinking a lot about is you can look at the industry right now from within. What do you think leaders are underestimating the pressure their teams are actually feeling?
I think it's a really good awareness question to be asking every single one of us, because we are in such a fast-paced movement forward with things moving and shifting so quickly, and shifting standards and customer experiences, and just how we are productive on a day-to-day with AI. It all looks different. It depends on what the internal firms and the corporate carriers are doing as far as training their internal people, and if there's an actual connection going on. And from what I see right now in the marketplace is that there is generations. You still have boomers, but they're not the largest group in the industry any longer. And then you've got one, two, three more generations below them. The Gen X's and the Gen Yers. And then you've got the millennials. I'm an old millennial. So all of those generations coming together in the marketplace with this really fast moving landscape, expected to collaborate, expected to really be creating a opportunity for younger talent to be like loyal and motivated to the work of the mission of the firm or the carrier, the team's all swimming in the right direction. I think there's a gap. There's a gap in between each one of the generations right now. So there's communication gaps happening. And so I think that's where there's like a misstep. I think that there is like management leading teams and there is a misunderstanding. Is that making sense? Like there's generationally some communication gaps that are happening. And then the fast paced movement of the industry with AI and the usage of it, and how each one culturally is training their people on how to use it and encouraging them to upskill themselves. That right now is just a very slippery slope. And there has to be synergy. And I think that there's just like, there's a lack of synergy or incongruence in a big way. And so younger talent is, I think, not feeling connected. They're not seeing the why behind maybe the generation that is managing them or influencing them. So that there's another gap.
Yeah, from skill set gap, communication gap, motivational gap, why
Yeah.
gap.
Yeah.
That I would say that all encompasses into actual performance. A-
Absolutely.
And how often have you seen underperformance being crippled into organizations by a system problem or by a people problem? What have you seen the most?
Well, I mean, systems are created by people, right? It's all people problems. It's all relationship problems. Whenever people find ways and are emotionally intelligent, they grow themselves on an emotionally intelligent front. And they find a way to be collaborative and really start to see through the eyes of the person they're trying to connect versus trying to get their point across. It's a gap of emotional intelligence a bit, certainly through the generations, and speaking and understanding one another is what I'm learning in just the research that I am doing. It's fascinating. But the younger generation, like the millennials and the Gen Xers or Zers, the Zers are younger. The Xers are a little bit older, but very different mentality. But the management over those younger talent in our industry, if you look at research and just studies right now, that the millennials and the younger folks are not feeling like connected enough to be loyal. I mean, some of them are out in 90 days. Like it is a very difficult talent type of issue that we are going to have if we do not find a way to reach them. And so what I'm learning in this like research and study that I'm doing is that to be effective with that generation and to influence momentum positively and bring them into the conversation, bring them in and let them sit at the table and get them a little bit of exposure, is that you have to approach it in a way that it's like a coaching process. There's a reason why I went and got myself up leveled and upskilled so that I can coach, because I really care about connecting with other people effectively. And so that's a growth journey all the time. But it is really, they need a coaching approach. And when you have a coach, you know that coach cares about you, but they're going to be tough on you. There's an accountability there, but there's also a bring alongside, right? There's like bringing them into a little bit of insider ball and an affirmation. And ultimately, that type of relationship approach to that younger generation who really needs it is way more effective and productive than the hall monitor approach. So I was a middle market underwriter. This was an okay job of mine in my my resume here. I learned a lot. I was on Wall Street, which was really fun. So great people watching. But I had a manager and I like giggle because when he would hear me print, he would get up from his cube and walk to the printer and come deliver it to my desk over and over and over again. And that just is bringing me back to that type of hall monitor management approach that maybe some of the older generations have used and thought were effective, but it's not effective. And so I think just bringing these like laughable, simple, real things, these are real things that have happened to the table and look at them from a different lens and try to connect with people from a different lens is going to benefit us all, right? And that's that emotional intelligence gap that the work that I'm trying to do is trying to fill in a very practical, technical risk advisory business.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So we want a new generation that craves coaching. They want to be coached. They want to do better. They want to learn fast. But then we have them spend their days, let's say, buried in email chains, spreadsheets, back and forth admin work. How do you feel this balance starts to, let's say, get in harmony?
Well, I mean, I think there's a big purpose thing. There's a purpose problem. And so that's why I'm super passionate about the fact that I am going to be able to bring that's the first place I start with my clients is we start with purpose. And because if you don't know like where you're headed, it's really easy to drift. And I feel like it was great. I feel like I drifted throughout my career and I love the roles that I had, but I drifted a bit. So had I known my purpose back when I was just starting in the business, I think my trajectory would have been different and I wouldn't have tolerated just getting stuck in roles where it's like paper pushing and just really not fulfilling, quite frankly. Now, that might be fulfilling for somebody else, but for the right person, right, broadly, I think that everybody needs to understand what their purpose is before they start to get into like jobs and roles. But no doubt, there is a pay your dues season. There's a pay your dues season. I mean, I think every day is, or every Monday at least is due day, right? And that doesn't end. It's a mentality. But I think there's a bit of like, there's a coaching process, there's a training process, there's a mental toughness training that needs to happen. If you look at that generation that is younger, just entering in and likely doing the jobs that you just mentioned, there's a lot of anxiety. They grew up in a funky world, right? A lot of stuff going on and there's high anxiety. So, how do you learn and motivate get those types of people who are motivated and fulfilled and feeling like they have a purpose and an impact because they really care about that. They're not really interested too much in kind of just like checking all the boxes off for their superiors, right? They want to know that they're moving in a direction with the team that is like going to win and doing good things like they feel like they're contributing to it, not just pushing paper around or, you know what I mean? Like just processy types of stuff. So I would start with purpose. No doubt I would encourage anybody start with purpose. Don't drift. But like when you get into those types of roles that like, how do you get up out of it? Right? How do you move up? Well, you're going to have some serious self-awareness of where you're going. And I think sooner or later, AI is going to be taking on a lot of that stuff, which is going to cause a lot of those roles to have those people to perk up and have to, up level their skill sets as well. I think like nobody gets off on that front with just AI competing next to us, right? It's never going to replace humans. It just requires us as humans who are super uniquely made to understand exactly why their unique purpose is and move in that direction.
I agree. And when we see history is humans plus tools. And now it's
Yeah.
human plus better tools. It's
Yeah.
what we
Yeah,
currently
and it's
have.
opportunity. Like, I'm seeing this, like, with the work that I'm doing, I'm like, this is an opportunity for insurance people. Doesn't matter if you're, production underwriting or in leadership or in claims or a producer, building a book of business or the middleman. Like, it does not matter where you sit or who you serve. We all serve someone. We have, and this is an opportunity for us now to figure out how to put a narrative to the uniqueness factor that you bring to the table. You remember that movie with Liam Neeson? I hope I'm saying the name right. I think it's Taken,
Yes, yes.
where, like, they take his daughter. And so I think this scene is so powerful. And I almost want to, like, that is like the end result that I want for my clients. That, like, at the end of understanding like their own specific purpose and then, starting to get introduced to the coaching experience and start moving in a certain direction. And at the end of it, they come out and they're talking to someone like, I have a certain skill set. Like he's saying to those people who have his, right? Like one that I have built throughout my career that nobody else, like one that you should be very afraid of. And I want to build that belief in every one of my clients to sell whatever it is that they're doing, right? Whatever product it is that they're selling, whether it's contractors pollution or, you know what I mean? We all do have that bit of a sales approach, an elevator pitch. How do you refine it to like really, really make yours uniquely you and powerful and impactful?
Yes, that's when, let's say, when we go in the ideal place, we grow. But where do you have seen talented people shrink into transactional roles instead of actually expanding into that influence sphere?
Yeah. Well, listen, we all are in a world of risk, but if we have the risk manager hat on and never take a risk, how? It's just a little bit incongruent, right? Like you can't go through this risk journey being an underwriter trying to find a reason to decline the risk. You've got to be open minded. And so 2 times in my career, I really think I, like, went and made a big risk. About 15 years ago, when I went out and, like, went and tried the sales bit where I started to produce and I gave that a go, and it was hard. It was so hard. Let me tell you, these are, like, identity building types of experiences when you commit to yourself to stretch. You know that Stretch Armstrong? Remember Stretch Armstrong? Like that doll, right? With
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
arms that would just stretch. That's literally what it has felt in those seasons, like where I just went out and I just did the thing. And I did some stupid things, like there was not good return on investments on like driving an hour away, like 6 different times to try to win over a really small piece of business. Like that was not worth it. But what it built in me it's like the price of growth. And so that experience combined with a bunch of other experiences that I'm really privileged and honored to have been able to like steward and learn through. And then recently, just like going out on my own and finding a way to truly serve an industry in my own unique way. So I would say to those people who maybe feel stuck, that's who we're talking to right now with this question, right? Like they feel stuck or they maybe feel like, well, I was very fearful, right? If you're fearful and you're risk adverse, you're going to play it safe because a safe, secure, nice corporate salary and K and all of that stuff is like amazing. That's easy, really comfortable and, like predictable in a way. But is it really? I don't know. Over time, depending on like where you're at, I'm sure it is. You got to find what works for you. But I think over time, people start to either realize that they're stuck and they do something about it, or they just stay safe and they stay stuck or stay shrunk. And then that's the worst. That's the worst path because it builds bitter roots. So ultimately, you end up having these like funky bitter roots coming up out of you. And it comes out like in your attitude. It comes out in like just very negative talk and trust and believe those people do not bring fruitfulness to teams, high performing teams. It's like weeds. You gotta see it, weed it
Pull
out.
out.
Right. So it's like big self awareness stuff, and it's really easy to get caught up in a safe, secure corporate, world. But for me, I think the pain of staying in the box and like, just go sit and do your work, put your head down and just like that really triggers me. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard it. It's like that's honestly not the best place for productivity, creativity, innovation, team collaboration, right? So let's build those environments that actually like bring diversity of thought together and inspire people to wake up out of being so stuck and safe and complacent.
Yeah, you with that story, you reminded me two things that I always review. Every opportunity, when presented, it looks like risk. Because if it wasn't risky, it would be certainty and it wouldn't be an opportunity. And the other one is they're called growing pains, not
Yeah.
growing joys. So
Yeah.
you got to make a decision. It's risky. Yeah, it's risky. It's going to hurt. Well, obviously, it's going to work. And I want to ask you, what danger have you seen people face when focusing, let's say, being more efficient, doing more instead of their identity?
Yeah. Well, I think just when you have misalignment in your life, like when you're doing something, you're committing most of your life to something, and it's just not at all aligned with like we all have a purpose. That's just truth. It really is. We all have a unique purpose. And if you want to, like, let's really be mindful about how we're saying it and seeing it. It's like we are made with a unique purpose that's good and designed for impact, not for you, but for others. For others. If you stay stuck, how many people are never going to hear you at your most fulfilled, impactful place? Because instead you stayed safe, but likely miserable. That would be a fun study, right? To interview people who have just stayed in a specific role for years and years and years and years. And let's hear about the experience. What was the main takeaway? Would love to dive into something like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Talking about impact, how
Mhm.
would you see leaders, or how should leaders think about AI as a replacement, augmentation, or maybe something else completely different? Having in mind that upskilling their people, it's, I would say, priority number one for a
Yeah,
lot of companies out there right now.
yeah. What I think is so necessary, and this is why I started my own growth journey a couple years ago, is getting myself equipped and like resourced so that I could literally model out for other people to watch me fall and get boo-boos, stumble over my words, get red chested, right? Step on a big stage and really be shaky and not knowing what I'm doing, but doing it scared. That became really important to me a couple years ago, honestly. I'm a mom of 4, and my oldest is gonna be 21 this year, like, next week. So, I've got a 21-year-old and a 3-year-old, and that's just that's 20 years of spread, right? I talked a little bit about the generations in the workplace right now, but I have a 20-year spread and none of them listen to me. So I need to be really skilled at like learning and sharpening my skills in how to be effective and reaching them because they're all different personalities. And so are all of you. So, how do we effectively bring in teams that like our packs. They're packs. Like let's remove the cold data technology stuff and let's think people. How does a pack move? The leader, how I think about it, the leader is at least from the back. The leader leads very vulnerably. The leader's got some skin in the game, right? And the leader has respect of the pack because she models out like long suffering well, the hard stuff, the hard conversations, having accountability, saying the things that maybe need to say, but also affirming those people on the team so that every one of them, number one, they know exactly what their strength zones are and they know what the purpose is, like why they're on the team. Wouldn't that be so incredibly insightful if a team, let's say 12, we got a leader, maybe 2 leaders, right? A head leader and a so everybody knows their purpose and that communication is there and they move like a team. And this one is uniquely purposed for this one's uniquely purposed for this, and this is what we do as a team. These are our goals. We review these goals, we celebrate our wins. We got these small, consistent wins together. there's not these weird divides. There's not this, you have to talk to this one to get to me stuff. I can't tell you how many times in corporate America I had to deal with that. You mean I can't call you as a human directly and speak to you? There's a hierarchy that is not conducive to building cultures that like want to follow you. Be a leader that is follower about, like that is follow. You want to be a leader that others will follow. How about that?
Yeah, I would say that's key. And when you have these bureaucracy, teams or organizations start to grow very slowly. And on the other side, let's say you're that team with purpose growing really fast. What cracks have you seen start to appear first when not done properly?
Yeah, I think that, like, honestly, the communication, like we talked about communication gaps, and like that is just one huge area that I know that I can have impact, practical impact. Whenever I get close and can work with a team and diagnose the issues that are happening, it's usually people. We talked about that. The people build the systems. Systems can always be changed and up leveled and tweaked, right? But it's the people that need to understand what system is going to work for that season. And it's not always going to work. They've got to be attuned and be working as a team. In order to do that, it's not just going to be one person, it's got to be the team. So if a team is just disjointed, and I have found so often, like I didn't have mentorship opportunities. I had to create them for myself or pay for them. But not everybody is like at that place where they've got a budget for themselves for personal growth, because no one has said you should have that. You deserve that, actually. So that's why it's so important to model out what it looks like to just be fully human, but on a growth track in a leadership position. So that the people who are around you, you're all holding each other accountable, but also learning from one another. So it's just a united, not a divided approach or a hierarchy where there's politics and there's just very much like street cop kind of situations where it's like there's no opportunities for exposure, growth, training grounds. There needs to be that. There needs to be shadowing and mentoring intentional right now in order for there to be impacts.
Yeah, that's a great point. And now we're seeing a world where a lot of manual tasks or repetitive tasks are being automated.
Yeah.
How would you advise executives to evaluate their teams that they are actually spending their time in high value activities?
Yeah. I really like the idea of a quarterly team check-in. Like I think that makes sense. It feels really good. It's not overbearing. It's not the monthly meeting. Like it needs to be intentional, but at that meeting, if there's an intentional check-in, like pulse, we're taking the pulse, right, of the team. And every one of us is uniquely purposed. And we all have purpose clarity. And this is the way we swim, and giving exciting updates, right? Like I think that's the goal, is that everybody coming to the team meeting is excited to report. They're excited to come to the table and say, this is what we've been doing. And I am so fulfilled doing this work. And if you're not, ding, 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 let's make a move. It's okay. Make a move. Don't just stay in a place, because honestly, if you start to think about it in a way of you're not fulfilled, well, that's data. So then you need to move closer to what fulfills you. And when you get closest to what fulfills you, that's when you're going to get paid the most.
Yeah, and not only pay the most, but also have purpose and
Yeah.
actually be
An
really
impact,
happy.
feel it, you know, like the sense of, I always said this, like that sense of accomplishment daily is really important, like for our brains, for our subconsciously, to at the end of the day, look back on your day and there's one thing that you have a sense of accomplishment. That's really important for like just momentum with humans and just how you're thinking or how you're moving towards your goals. And I really hope that you've got some goals, you know? Because if you don't, you're drifting. I promise. You don't want to drift, right? Drifting is, it's like, oh, that's not impactful. It might be good for a season, but it's not one that you should just stay in that drifting boat.
Yeah, totally get. If you were right now advising, let's say, an CEO from an MGA,
Hmm.
what's the first question you'd ask them on how to leverage technology to develop their team and make them more productive?
Well, that would probably not be the first question I ask them, but
That's fair.
yeah, we'll say that's when we get into the real nitty-gritty. But honestly, I would just be very curious. I think that they have a really big job right now, forging teams into this newness with all of this technology coming in so fast, so fast. So like it's like, how do you choose? I mean, listen, how do these teams will get together and they budget for these things? They've got to work together collaboratively and like figure out what is best for our firm and what's best for our team. And this is like probably a quarterly check in type of thing, but like they allocate budget for this. And at the rate of like the newness in the products and like how this gets done, and oh, well, you could cut it in this, it's going so fast. It's like every month there's something new and better and faster and quicker. So in the insurance business, like, how do you stay up? You're not gonna change and then a month later get the newest, right? You've gotta, like, lock in and get your teams all swimming in the same direction. So I would be really curious and just literally picking their brain on their mindset on how, like, they see it. And I think that those people are really sharp right now because they have to be sharp, and they've got good people and smart people all around them that understand that space and can hopefully link up with the diversity of thought in-house and work with a consultant creatively to find the best solution, for that team. But I don't know if I have a specific question that I would ask them other than just on like honest human, like, where are you? How are you even feeling about this in 2026? And then take it from there. Have like a probing expert.
No, thank you very much, Emily. I really enjoyed our conversation. This was Delegated Authority, your host, Daniel. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Bye bye.